Hi everyone, welcome to a new devlog. This week, I have been working on something more fun, the combat system. Howling Tales is a game with a strong narrative, but it's a small open world with RPG ingredients. Therefore, combat and upgrades of both weapons and characters are very important to the game. This week, I have been working on the combat system with the most basic enemy, the Fallen. They are humans who died during the 100 Years' War, and were cursed by the necromantic arts of the Night Souls. They wander the valley waiting for the call to go to war again, this time against the humans. Although they are not very strong, they base their strategy on the difference in numbers, attacking in groups. My combat system is designed in a way that the most skilled players can use its full potential. I'm going to break down the system so we can see how it's designed. Enemies have three sensors: hearing, vision, and damage. With the sense of hearing, they can change their state from patrol to searching when they hear something suspicious. With the visual sense, they can change their state from patrol to searching if they discover the dead body of another enemy, and from patrol or searching to chase if they spot the player. Finally, the damaging sense changes any state to attack. This is like this because I want enemies to quickly react when they get hit, for example, from the back. All this is handled by two components, the AI controller and the behavior tree. Once in the attack state, the enemy has several settings: the dodge probability and the blocking probability. The enemy, when starting an attack, has two options: attack or dodge, depending on the dodge probability. I improved the dodge system, making the calculation of the possible escape routes more efficient. Visually there is no change, but now my code is a little bit cleaner and easier to understand. This is important, especially in long development projects. On the other hand, when the enemy is defending and receives an attack from the player, he has two options: receive the damage or block, depending on the probability of blocking. Those settings make the enemy look much smarter and harder to predict, making combat more interesting and fun. As for attacks, at the moment the enemy only has basic attacks. But to add variety, each enemy class has a set of basic attacks, the animation of which is played randomly. One idea I want to develop next is to add a combo probability setting, so the enemy can go into a combo, entering into an invincible mode, making his attacks more dangerous. One of the new improvements is now the hits are more evident and satisfactory. I changed the animation since the light hits were not very noticeable. With the heavy hit animations, not only there is a better feedback for the player, but also we move physically the enemy, making the combat more dynamic. On the other hand, I improved the damage system, so now I calculate the direction of the attack, whether it's frontal, right, left, or back, and I play an animation according to the direction. That gives more variety and realism to the combat. As for the player, at the moment we only have a basic attack and the possibility of concatenating a combo of up to 4 attacks. This will change in the future with more attacks, plus the possibility of using different weapons such as swords, blunderbusses, daggers, etc. As for the attacks, I have improved the targeting system. Now the camera is slightly offset, giving a better point of view for combat. The player in evasive mode can dodge and block. During the combat, a perfect block can be executed, stunning the enemy for a few seconds. The perfect block only occurs when the player starts the block in a time window between the start of the enemy's attack animation and the moment of collision of the enemy's weapon with the player. On the other hand, to avoid the player constantly blocking, I have introduced a setting called resistance. The resistance is spent every time we block an attack. If we spend all the resistance, the enemy will break our block, stunning us for a few seconds. So it's very important to make intelligent use of the perfect block and normal block to defeat enemies. And even if we are blocking, the enemy will always push us a little. This helps to make the combat more dynamic and reevaluate our position because we can find ourselves in a situation where the enemy is pushing us towards greater danger. I also revised the vaulting system. I added a lag to the camera so it follows the player in a smoother way, and on the other hand, when I start the vault animation, I disable the input, so we don't interfere or interrupt the animation, and when it's finished, I enable the input again. The result now is much more refined and visually pleasing. Finally, I added a detail to the NPC that helps the immersion in the game. Now the NPC can look at us turning his head. I have to adjust it so he only looked at us when we are close, because now he's staring at us from far away and it's a bit creepy. On a general level, I refactored the interfaces I was using for communication between enemy, player and weapons. This doesn't change anything visually, but it's clearer since the use of interfaces is still a bit confusing for me, so I'm sure will be helpful for further development. And that was all for this week. I hope you liked this week's progress. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and leave any questions or suggestions in the comments. Thanks so much for watching and have a great week.